Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Here.
Santana, present. Hart.
Here.
House Jones, McCormick, Spencer. Here. Mr. Chairman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We're going to start with ordinance number 1068-2024 by Council Members McCormack, Harrison, and Griffin by Department of Request, an emergency ordinance authorizing Director of Economic Development to enter into an enterprise zone agreement with Erie View Holdings LLC, Erie View Tower Residential LLC, Erie View Gallery LLC, Erie View Tower LLC, and/or its designee to provide for tax abatement for certain real property improvements for the revitalization of the tower, gallery, and parking garage located at 100 Erie View Street / 1301 East 9th Street in the Cleveland Area Enterprise Zone. We do have a presentation on the screen. We have Directors McNear, Director Tyson Mitchell, and we have our phenomenal, I won't call assistant director, but our very special manager from the Department of Economic Development, Robin Brown, Mr. Morehouse, and Andrew Wilshire. All right, thank you so much, Director. I'm gonna turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is a project that we have been talking about for quite some time here at the City of Cleveland to transform Erie View Tower and the former Galleria into, a $200+ million renovation that is going to bring a new W Hotel, office space, and a revitalized Galleria to downtown Cleveland. I'd like to kick this off by allowing Mr. Walshinger and Morehouse to kind of go through a little bit of an overview because it's been some time on the plans for the project, then we'll talk about the way that we're going to support that work.
And before we start, just a reminder to the committee, we saw a piece of this last year.
Yes.
It has taken us that long to get through this process and get back to the table here to discuss this piece, all for good reasons. The team really worked hard with the property owners and representatives to come to a good place, and so we are here today. So this is not unfamiliar to you all because we have seen this project come to us before in the past. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, council members, and we appreciate the opportunity to present before you this morning. I'll try to remember to speak up so that everybody can hear me. And for the record, this is Andy Walschlager. Andy is the CFO of TurnDev.
Okay.
Okay. As you can see, the project, which encompasses the Erie View Tower and the Galleria, occupies an entire city block in downtown Cleveland. Instead of just a central business district asset, Erie View Tower and the Galleria, due to its size and its impact, it's really a regional asset for Northeast Ohio and the state of Ohio. The owner and developer, the Kasu family, they acquired the property in 2019 from a prior owner. The property, it's been in stages of getting ready for construction. The Galleria, even though there's nobody really in there right now as far as tenants, the public is free to enter and walk around the property. There aren't any banned individuals or anything along that line. Just as long as everybody behaves in a civil manner, there's no problems. There are no issues.
Mr. Morehouse, you said there is no ban list at the Galleria as of today.
That's correct, Councilman.
And everyone is welcome as long as they behave and act accordingly.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So this project has been years in the making, and thank you for your kind comments. Here we have a mixed-use development that's comprised of office, luxury residences, a hotel, and parking and retail. The 210-key luxury hotel is going to be managed by W Hotel, which is a Marriott affiliate. It's going to be on floors 5 through 12. The amenities are going to be a spa, restaurant, rooftop bar, refreshed lobby entrance. And the hotel is really going to carry the amenity feel for the entire development. There's going to be 227 luxury apartments on floors 17 to 28, and there's a possibility of an additional 30 rental apartments on 39 to 40. That's still very much in the planning stages at this point. There's planned renovations to approximately 300,000 square foot of office space on floors 13 to 15, 29 through 37. It's the hope of the developer that the combination of the hotel and the residences will entice office tenants to stay or come downtown. The Galleria, it's still in the planning stages, but it's going to include fine dining, a new food court, indoor sports and entertainment spaces, and a second floor renovated ballroom for special events. Sorry. On the next slide, it's a stacking plan. It's hard to look at the building. It's a very tall structure, but this slide shows from the top of the stack, there is going to be a restaurant and bar. We're going to have a rooftop bar venue here, but underneath that will be rental apartments that are in the planning stages. Renovated offices in blue. Green are the planned W residences. They're going to have outstanding views of the downtown and lake, the W Hotel, and then you can see the Galleria and the parking structure. The Kassouf family, they've been around Cleveland for a long, long time. They're led by the patriarch James Kassouf and Catherine Kassouf, Elias Kassouf, Joe and Donovan Cleary, the CFO. They've executed a number of projects, and they own over 2,000 parking spaces in downtown Cleveland. The architecture firm of Berardi and Associates, they are the architect of record. They do work all over the state and the region, and their key individuals are George Berardi, and we work most directly with Joe Berardi, his nephew. We are going to have two other architect groups working on this. They're from out of state, the Rockwell Group and Bayer Binder Bell. Independence Construction is now the construction manager. They've done projects all throughout the greater Cleveland area. TurnDev is new. They're stepping in to function in a develop assist role. And they've been working on over 800,000 square foot in the city of Cleveland, 300 million in the pipeline. The current projects include the future Cleveland Division of Police headquarters on Superior Avenue, as well as the Cross Country Mortgage campus. Key individuals, John Penny, who couldn't be with us here this morning, Andy Wolschlager, and Aaron Larson, and Mario Rini. Andy, you want to say anything else?
No, I think you covered it. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. I'm going to go into design images. One of the axioms in development is that it's not what is, but what could be. And these are some proposed renderings that you see before us. If you walk through right now, you'll see the image on the right, and the image on the left is what could be. All right, and yeah, it's the developer's hope and their intent to open up the project, bring more people into the campus, and reconnect it with downtown in Greater Cleveland. All right. Sources and uses of funds. Aside from conventional financing, the state of Ohio is contributing $20 million to the project, $10 million in the form of Ohio Historic Preservation Tax Credits, and $10 million in the form of a transformational mixed-use development grant. And we're also utilizing PACE financing as well. Hotel financial closing slated for the end of this month. Construction commence immediately thereafter. Construction completion. The entire project slated for June 30th, 2026. And as you can see, it's going to involve a lot of work. On this slide, it's 217 million. Let me tell you that that number actually fluctuates every day. Yeah, sources and uses, I got into that earlier. Aside from the state incentives, there's going to be between 15 to 20 million in federal historic tax credits, and construction financing is for the residents is going to be provided by Huntington Bank. And what you see before you on the slide deck is a summary of the ordinances. And working with the city, we gauged the economic impact of what the redevelopment could bring to the city and the community, and it's substantial. You know, just look at the scale of the project, the hotel uses, office uses. There's a lot of payroll, jobs, economic impact, and we do need the city help. The project is shovel-ready, but for this critical piece of assistance to help satisfy debt service ratio covenants by Huntington and other lenders, and provide the developer with the confidence that this project can succeed. There is not a project like this in the United States of America. Never before have they combined a W hotel and luxury residences. So we're pioneering. And what you see before you is a summary of the economic impacts and how we got to some of the property tax numbers. And yeah, the hope is to take the project that's currently at a $20.5 million value, and we hope to get up to the $200 million range. We have a lot of work to do. And then what you see on this slide is a summary of the various tax benefits that we're projecting to the city of Cleveland in the form of city income tax, bed tax revenues, city parking revenues, so on and so forth. ROI analysis, it's important for the city to get a return on its investment into the project. And KJK, we projected $125 million back to the city over 30 years from tax feedback effects. And, you know, these are some of the economic assumptions that we plugged into our modeling. And, you know, we've been working with Tyson Mitchell and his staff and the developer to come up to a good, equitable community benefits agreement that we think will be a good platform for the project and for the community. There's going to be sustainable features programmed into the project, among them the Enterprise Green Community criteria, and we're going to go for that certification as well. And thank you. Can I answer any of your questions?
Yeah. So as we load, Mr. Chairman, the other presentation on the incentives, I do want to say, and I think it's important to note, that our downtown, like downtowns throughout the country, are at an inflection point. You know, coming out of the pandemic, I think it is critical that we find ways to kind of transform ourselves into the 21st century. You know, and I think it's, you know, not an overstatement to say that commercial real estate right now is at a crisis point. You know, you look at our own downtown, I'm sure if you picked up Cranes the other day and you saw North Point Tower is going over to a loan servicer, right? As we look at a new way of like what an office building means, you know, projects like this that can reinvigorate part of our downtown become even more critically important. I will walk through the incentives that we're going to use to support this catalytic development in our downtown. You know, but first, you know, as was mentioned, Director Mitchell has done a lot of work with the developer and other members of the administration and council on trying to shape community benefits that we feel, you know, are commensurate with this project. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Director Mitchell to kind of talk about the community benefits, and then we'll come back with the commercial tax abatement.
Actually, I saw a couple of hands
Yes.
about the previous slide. Is that still on the, is that on the tablets? Okay. I know Councilman Joe Jones had a question about one of the slides from the presentation, the previous presentation.
I did, Mr. Chairman. Is the director going to talk about the financing side of it right now? Then I'll just hold.
Yeah, we'll go through how we're going to support it, and then that might make sense for, once we've done that, to comprehensively address those questions. But
Mr. Chairman, I'll yield just a little
You good? You want to wait?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm going to go over the community benefits that the citizens can expect to receive or benefit from in this from this project. We have the MBE, the certified spend on minority, female, and small business, 20% MBE, 10% FBE, and 10% Cleveland small business that we anticipate. Developers also going to really focus on job fairs and contractor networking sessions. How do we increase the participation? Well, first we got to let people know that things are going on and they can be a part of this. So that's going to be a big component of that. Of course, we're going to do the 20% Fannie Lewis city resident hiring goal on this project. We really believe that that is important also. How do we get residents involved in a project within their community that they're a part of? Of course, student, youth, and employment opportunity. We're going to really engage Cleveland Municipal School District. We're going to have at least 5 paid internships and create job opportunities for Cleveland youth ages 18 to 25. So that's going to be an important part also. We're also going to bring in apprenticeships. Apprentices. We're going to have 5 registered apprenticeships for adult Cleveland residents and community college students here who are particularly Cleveland residents. From an artist standpoint, we want to get local artists involved. So the developers committed to at least $150,000 to include local artists in this project, keeping in mind that the Marriott Corporation, when they come in, they're going to do a whole lot of art also. So that's just a small part of what's going on in this project. The developer also agreed to provide meeting space for nonprofit and community organizations at a reduced cost. So that's going to be for a 10-year period that we're talking about. So organizations will be able to get meeting space there within the building. As the developer mentioned, we're going to have sustainable initiatives in this project, and they've also agreed to use Cleveland Public Power as the preferred electric supplier. So that's important. That was an important part of this. What's not on here is a mentor protege program. They're also going to develop a mentor protege program, and they've hired or are hiring a minority contractor to lead in the construction management portion. So they're going to have a minority female construction manager at the top of the project who's going to be on the decision-making side of things, but also that minority or female or small business contractor is going to bring on a protege to help and learn from in this project. So we believe that these are some good community benefits baked within this project. I'll open it up to questions.
So, and I think I will kind of talk about the incentives here, and we are on item 1068, which is the commercial tax abatement, which is the first thing that I want to say is that the city of Cleveland is not issuing any checks to the developer in this, right? We are supporting this project with a couple of important tax incentives. And so, again, I think as a reminder, our client here is investing $217 million into what is now largely a vacant office building in a defunct shopping center to create a 210-room hotel, 227 apartments, 300,000 square feet of office, all of which raises the value of that taxes and will allow us to recapture some of that and reinvest in the project. The first piece of which is the Ohio Enterprise Zone Commercial Tax Abatement. Again, this is a tool that we have not used for a while, that we've been trying to figure out the right spaces to use. Hotels are interesting, particularly ones that use union labor, right? And so Through this, 75% of those commercial tax abatement over 10 years will be abated. The overall estimated value of that is about $9.2 million. But during that 10-year period, there will be over $283,000 a year in new commercial taxes that we'll be collecting that we are otherwise not collecting now, right? And once that 10 years burns off, that will move to $1.2+ million in new taxes we'll be collecting that we are not collecting now. And so even though we are investing that $9.2 million back into the project, that means we will still be collecting over $2.8 million in new property taxes on this project over the course of 10 years. And when you factor in the payroll of the 600+ new jobs come in, that looks at almost $20 million in new tax revenues that are coming into the city of Cleveland over that 10-year span. Right, and I'll defer to you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, we could go through the tax increment financing right now and then fully open it up to questions, or we could close it off with this ordinance and wait.
So what I like to do is, since we're already here
Yep.
on this, we can start here, and then we'll go into the tip
Yes, sir.
side of this, because there's, they're related, but they're also separate
Yes,
as well.
sir.
All right. Councilman Joe Jones?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to continue to hear whatever the presentation is
Okay.
on this, because it seems like this is really a real structured sense here, so I'm still trying to make sense out of it.
Gotcha.
It's more in depth.
Councilman Harsh?
Mr. Chair, I just have two questions right now. Through the chair to the development team, do you have a anchor tenant for the Galleria right now, or is it more schematic?
Yeah, we don't have an anchor tenant for the Galleria right now. The anchor tenant for the entire project is the W Hotel.
Hotel,
And
okay.
the developer expects that the W will help direct the tenant programming that goes into the
Can
Galleria.
a distinguished gentleman speak in the mic so I can hear him? Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, thank you. Sorry about that, Councilman. The developer is viewing the Erie View Hotel as the anchor tenant for the entire
Okay,
development, and so that'll mean that the Erie View Hotel will help to drive whatever tenants go into the Galleria. We want it to be symbiotic, synergistic mix of tenants.
so the hotel would be in charge of programming for that location?
They would have
Figure out how
input.
to activate it? Okay.
Yeah.
Then my only other question right now, through the chair to the director, could you explain the difference between an enterprise zone abatement and a standard abatement?
Through the chair to Councilman Harsh, an enterprise zone tax abatement is actually available through state law, and the enterprise zone actually is the entirety of the city of Cleveland. It's based on poverty rates and things of that nature, what the state considers an enterprise zone. But for our purposes, the entirety of the city is an enterprise zone.
So then, through the chair to the director, what makes this unique as the first enterprise zone commercial tax abatement? You said we've been having a hard time figuring out how to utilize that. What are we utilizing here that we don't normally? I mean, an abatement is simply,
Yes.
in layman's terms, a reduction of tax payment.
Yes, correct. Through the chair to Councilman Hart. So this is just a tool that the past administration didn't utilize very often. I think it can be a very powerful tool, and we want to utilize it under the right circumstances, right? And so by that, I think that, one of the other projects that we've successfully kind of administered this on is the International Food Service project at 55th and Central, right? There'll be a 220+ job poultry processing plant. But again, I think that we want to utilize this tool for kind of high leverage job situations. So again, not just the number of jobs that are coming in as a part of this. I think was also important to us that this hotel utilizes union labor, because not every job is the same. And so high quality, decent paying jobs are important to us as we kind of go through that process as well.
Okay,
But you can, via state law, go up to 10 years and up to 75% at the discretion.
Okay, so maybe I'm not asking this question correctly then, through the chair. We do abatements rather frequently. Typically, I say the most normal abatement is a residential project.
Correct.
And we abate single family and we abate multifamily.
Correct.
We do that, we don't call it an enterprise zone commercial abatement, we just call it a regular abatement, which is also the state that allows us to do that. What is specifically about the enterprise zone commercial abatement is unique to this abatement that is different from any other abatement we do? Like, what makes this an enterprise zone abatement? I don't understand that part. It's just,
Mr. Morehouse?
And I can help. It's due to the how the current incentives are structured in the city of Cleveland. Like right now, the city of Cleveland has a citywide CRA property tax exemption just for residential, multifamily, single family. Okay, they left out commercial.
okay.
So on this project, since the CRA is silent or didn't allow for property tax exemption for commercial, that necessitates the need for the enterprise zone abatement.
So our normal abatement policy does not include commercial. The enterprise zone does include commercial abatements.
Correct.
And that's what makes this enterprise, is that it's a commercial.
Yes, sir.
Understood.
And these are legislated
Thank you.
as opposed to as of right.
These are legislated instead of as of right. So our current abatement project, you can just file paperwork for the current abatement if you're doing residential development under our
Correct.
current abatement ordinances, and you don't need to come to us, but for commercial. Did I get that
That's-
right?
Yeah, on that
Correct.
point, may I just clarify?
Yes.
So through the chair, so therefore, any commercial tax abatement would need to be legislated, whereas residential is by right.
Yes.
Through the chair, correct.
Thank you.
That's all for now. Thank you,
Because
Chair.
when we approved the residential tax abatement, we did the work and said, here's it, you can apply for it. We've already established our parameters and what should occur should you seek or need the residential abatement. This here, as they indicated, each time they want to award a project with enterprise zone commercial abatement, they have to come back to this body to seek our approval to do so. And they can go up to 10 years based on state law. All right? Yes?
Mr. Chair, I just had a couple of clarifying questions. First, I mean, not to state the obvious, but this is in Councilman McCormick's ward, and I presume that he is supportive of this legislation.
Is he
I know
supportive?
he's in Pittsburgh today, through the chair.
Through the chair, Councilwoman Spencer, yes, Councilman McCormack is supportive. I have spoken to him directly.
Okay.
Silence is acquiescence.
Yes. I know he's on a mission. He and Councilman Slife are touring the airport in Pittsburgh today as the chair and co-chair of Transportation Committee, I do believe. I wanted to ask a couple of questions through the chair. First is the current YMCA, downtown YMCA, how does that interplay with this proposed project? Through the chair.
Director, Mr. Morehouse?
Thank you for the question, Councilwoman. The YMCA is not part of this process, but they're going to stay in place, and they'll be able to continue to provide their own community benefit, as we go forward in the project.
Okay, so YMCA is untouched in this project, stays as is. Okay. And then I was curious, just one more question for now through the chair. For the luxury residences, who is the target? What's the difference between a luxury residence and an apartment, and who is the target market for the residences?
Yeah, to be sure, what we're trying to achieve with the residences is a synergy with the W Hotel. We envision that residences and the apartments will take advantages of the services offered by the hotel, whether it's meals, valet, dry cleaning, programming, catering, special events, whatever you can think of. That's the hope for, that there will be a synergistic operation between the two.
In your apartment.
All right. Thank you. So, Mr. Morehouse, the luxury residences will be operated by the W Hotel, correct?
Andy, yes, there's going to be a affiliate of the W Hotel, a related business entity that's going to manage the hotel, separate organizations, but under the same umbrella.
Okay. So, and it'll be branded the W, right? W, because I've seen this.
W
other-
Residences.
It'll be branded W Residences.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Councilwoman Santana?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure if you want to wait. My questions are all around workforce. Do we want to go to that slide now, the CBA slide, or do we want to wait to after the TIF?
If you want to go to the, we can go to the TIF and then you can.
Okay,
you can
that's
have,
fine.
roll
I can
it
do
all
that.
together. Yeah. Okay. All right, got it. Any other issues around this? Councilman Joe Jones?
Well, I'm going to wait until, I did want to talk a little bit more about the other subject, but I'll wait and yield to my colleague to just hear, because I got questions on workforce too.
Okay. All right, we'll put you down. We'll go to the TIF and we can ask all of the workforce questions together. So as it relates to this, the enterprise zone tax abatement, the 10 years, for folks who are watching, Director, can you just repeat the value of the 10-year enterprise tax abatement, what is going to the developer, what is coming to the city in excess, and will the schools be affected?
So to the chairman, yes, so this is a 10-year period of commercial tax abatement of which 75% of the taxes will be abated because they are investing $200+ million into the project, right, which is going to raise the value of that. That does mean that there'll be $283,000 in new property taxes coming in for that first 10 years, right, on an annualized basis. And then once that rolls off, that's about $1.2 million in new taxes a year that'll come on. So, but if you look at 10 years, 75% abated, the estimated value of that is about $9.2 million, right? But like I said, if you take 10 years of those $283,000 a year in new taxes, that's about $2.83 million that the city of Cleveland will be receiving that we would not otherwise have received. Related to the schools, kind of like a residential tax abatement, in which case that is a 100% tax abatement, where the schools would not receive any portion of those taxes. And here, the schools will only receive their portion on that $283,000 a year, right? So the 75% is fully abated.
Gotcha. Okay. I thought that was important to go through
Yeah.
because I know folks are listening and watching, so they can
100%.
clearly understand, you know, as Councilman Harsh mentioned, the difference between the residential, then you have the commercial tax
Yes.
abatement, and what does that look like, and how does that work here with abatement? Will the schools be
Yes, sir.
affected? Will they still receive their portion of the project? Yes.
Yes.
Of the dollars, and in the total value over the 10-year period. For the developer and also for the city of Cleveland
Yes,
as
sir.
well. So, no, I appreciate you going back through that. So we can go ahead and skip to the tip now.
No, I appreciate that, Councilman, and I also think it's important to note as we think about the schools through that, it's important to look at a project like this in its totality, you know, because again, investing $200+ million into an asset that again, today is largely a vacant office building and defunct shopping center, right? You know, if you look at the 30-year period over which there is a non-schools TIF placed on here, you know, that comes into, again, in that kind of first year because there's a commercial tax abatement, not as much, about $99,000 a year is the value of that. That turns into $400+ a year in terms of value. Again, we are not writing a check. This is the recaptured value that comes in over years 11 through 30. So the estimated value of that TIF is about $9.4 million. But because we are making a $200+ million investment that is raising the tax value of this over the course of 30 years, including the commercial tax abatement and the TIF, Cleveland Metropolitan School District is looking to benefit at $17.5+ million over the course of 30 years that they otherwise would not have received had nothing happened to this building, right? And so, again, when you also add in the job creation and estimated income tax that are coming of this, over the course of 30 years, you are looking at $70+ million of new taxes that we otherwise would not have received had this investment not occurred. So again, what we are doing is taking that theoretical value, not cash, but reinvesting it back into the project of about $18+ million between the TIF and the commercial tax abatement, but we are gaining about $70 million in new tax revenues over the course of 30 years, of which CMSD is the primary beneficiary.
Gotcha. Thank you. And so between the TIF value over the 30-year period plus the enterprise value over the 10-year period, what are we looking at? About almost $20 million?
Yeah.
About 90 million.
Oh, but the value of the TIF and the enterprise.
Just the TIF and the enterprise.
Yes.
Almost $20 million just for
Yeah.
those
Yes.
two pieces.
Yes,
Right?
yes, sir.
That's not including any other incentives that has been discussed. Obviously, I'm sure they'll apply for the residential tax abatement portion
Correct.
too, correct?
That's correct. The developer has applied, and we've achieved compliance with Part 1 of that.
Okay, you have.
property tax
Okay.
amendment. Yep.
Got it, okay. Thank you. We will go to Councilman Harsh, and Councilman Jones stepped out. We'll come back to Councilman Joe Jones.
So I guess my first question through the chair to the director, why is that $200 million investment not part of the abatement and instead part of the new valuation of the property?
Through the chair to Councilman Hart, I'm sorry, could you maybe rephrase
So
that
you said
question?
you said that it's a $200 million investment, so
Yes.
the value of the property goes up.
Correct.
Right. And then we create a TIF on that new value.
Correct.
Right. So there's no abatement being discussed here today. We're not, are we abating and TIFing?
Correct.
Right. So I guess the question is, a normal residential abatement is you don't add the tax value. You pass along the previous value before the renovation construction is done, and so that the new owner doesn't pay that value on the investment and it kicks in later. And then a TIF is when you allow them to keep their tax payment and redirect it towards a different end user rather than the government. So I guess my question is, that $200 million you're saying is based on the new value. Are we both abating and allowing them to recapture?
Through the chair to Councilman Harsh, yes. And so the way this works, right, is that in that initial 10-year period, 75% of those taxes would be abated on the commercial portion.
On the
of that.
$200 million valuation?
Yes, of the commercial portion of that, 75% of those would be abated, right? And again, if you're looking at a normal multifamily or single-family home, 100% of those would be abated, right? And so, which is why you kind of refer to, in a commercial mixed use, you say that like back-end TIF, right? Because those first 15 years, those residential taxes would be completely abated, and then you're only picking up years 16 through 30. This is slightly different in that the commercial tax abatement is only 75% of taxes, which means there is a portion of it. And to your point, what the client is doing, the property owner is doing, is making a payment in lieu of taxes, right? So they still receive a bill. They still pay Cuyahoga County. Cuyahoga County then redistributes that.
So what you're saying is that based on the $200 million new valuation, 75% is abated, but the 25% that is not results in the payments to CMSD, the number that you're using here to CMSD.
That would be, so roughly, again, like 60%.
What is the current value of the property?
It's
Morehouse?
forgive me, it's one of our slides here. I believe it's like 21, 22 million.
Was it in there? I
Yeah, it
apologize.
was on the right-hand side.
20,452,700.
So it's currently valued at $20 million. We'll just say $20 million. And taxes are being paid on a $20 million valuation. And when the new valuation is set at 200, we abate, what percentage? We abate
75%.
We abate 75% of 200, so the tax payments go from a $20 million current valuation to a $25 million. That's not after the TIF.
So through the chair to councilman, actually, commercial properties
Right,
are
50,
taxed at like
50.
35%, assessed value. So if it is valued at $217 million, about 35% of that will be what the tax value of the property is.
I understand
right?
that, Director.
And then
What-
yes.
I'm
Yes,
sorry,
sir.
then let's just get to this. So
Yes.
it's valued at 20, right? And
Correct.
they pay whatever taxes on that.
Correct.
The value goes up to 200, and they pay taxes on 50 million.
Yes.
Because 75
Correct.
is abated.
Correct.
So the taxable value of the building more than doubles.
Correct. Yes,
This
sir.
is a good thing.
This is an excellent
This
thing.
means that we collect more revenue
$283,000 a year more
than
than
what
we're
we're
collecting
currently
today.
collecting.
Yes, sir.
Okay. These numbers get very confusing.
Yes.
People watch this at home, and if they pick off part of they misunderstand. I just want to get clear on this.
Yes.
The taxes paid will more than double because the value that they're paying, even though the building is currently at 22, it's going to go up to 200. We're going to abate 75%, that's 150, but they're paying taxes on 50 million instead of 22 million.
Correct.
This is a simple way to say it.
This
I
is a
think,
net
right?
win.
Okay. My only other question, and Mr. Chair, I'll
Go ahead.
saving this one for yourself, because I think this is the other elephant in the room. How dangerous is it, through the chair to the director, for us to start abating commercial property in our own TIF district when we have the goals of using the downtown TIF district to finance so much, where we've already allocated 40% of our downtown TIF district to the East Bank, and we've got the other 60% left that we're hoping to
Yeah.
use here behind us. And if we give out one commercial TIF if we exempt one commercial building from the TIF district, are we setting a precedent that we're going to have everybody in downtown lined up to get their own vertical TIF to avoid the horizontal TIF?
So through the chair to Councilman Harsh, I think that is a conversation that we've had quite a bit of. I think that if every single property owner in the city of Cleveland downtown would want to invest $200+ million into their downtown, much like we just discussed, this is a net win in terms of taxes, right? Like, I think that would be a good thing and a good problem to have, right? But again, I think we have looked at this from the creation of the TIF district, that you do have the ability to pop out individual parcels specifically for this reason, so that you can look on a case-by-case basis if the redevelopment of that property is worth it. Because the reality is that when you look at the shore to shore TIF district, and I've always said, I'm 48 years old, we've been talking about connecting to the waterfront in this city since I was like -10. Right? And when we invest those dollars from the TIF district into connecting that waterfront, that is going to raise the value of everything in downtown Cleveland and make those payments possible. But the reality is also, in a market like Cleveland, you're not going to be able to make a project like this possible without being able to use tools like this to make it happen. So again, we have the ability on a case-by-case basis to bring these to you to kind of make an informed decision for specifically that reason that you raised.
That's my only question.
Got it. Thank you. Councilman Harsh. And Councilman Harsh is right. As we've had discussions many times about this, what considerations are being given when we determine what parcel we pull out of the TIF district to allow for vertical TIFs. And I would say that the Galleria is one of those projects that absolutely would fall under that criteria, right?
Yeah.
We have a massive property that's just been sitting vacant for quite some time, because in our climate, it takes a lot, as you see on the screen, the sources and uses, to get a project like this really up and going. And the fact that we have an opportunity to bring in a branded opportunity like the W to the city of Cleveland. How many of these things are around? Mr. Morehouse, I think is very few, correct? It's not many.
There are not many W hotels all across the country.
Yeah. And especially the luxury residence side of the W hotels, correct?
Right. This is going to be the first project where there's a combination in the country.
Gotcha. And they could have went to Columbus, Cincinnati, anywhere else, but they chose Cleveland, which we are happy to welcome them here to Cleveland. So Councilman Harsh, he is right on the money. We have to, these are things we need to think about as we move along, because you could set the precedent, right? You could have other folks lining up, as he indicated, saying, well, what about me, right? But I think with this particular property, there's a case to be made why this versus maybe others, if folks come along and ask for a vertical TIF, to be pulled out of the TIF district. So we'll just have to keep our eyes on
Yep.
that and as we go along. And again, this body will have the final say on whether, the TIF will actually happen as well. I know there's memos and decisions and all the back end work that happens to get here, but we'll have the final say so on whether we will allow or not allow for a project to receive a TIF. All right. Councilman Joe Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm kind of fond of Erie View. When I was a kid, used to go down there, and just looking at the whole property over the space of time, how it has deteriorated, and to see that there's this kind of investment that's working its way to be made here. Certainly, I'm in support of that. I'm in support of it because it's a $200 million investment. I support it because it seems like the director has really put together a comprehensive package here, and I certainly appreciated my colleagues fundamentally asking the questions and breaking down the finances because some of the questions that Councilman Harsh asked was some of the questions that I was going to ask, but I was going to ask it in a different way. So he really brought out some stuff that, I want to kind of like just sort of dig into a little bit. When we look at the total benefit package that we're putting here, what is that total value?
For the incentives?
Yes.
Through the chair to Councilman Jones, $18,725,200 estimated.
And that is in part the TIF as well as using the new tool that you talked about.
Commercial tax abatement, sir, yes.
Is there anything else that we may not have discussed short of those two?
Through the chair to the councilman, I believe was discussed residential tax abatement is as of right and will factor into this,
Okay.
but was not a part of this presentation.
I see. And so once this is up and running, how fast, Mr. Chairman, are we looking to see the investment being made and all the parts and pieces are in play? What's our timeline?
Sorry. Thank you for your question, Councilman. The project is slated to commence construction next month, at the beginning of next month. So it'll take, about 6 months for each component of the demolition. There's going to be demolition for the floors of the residences, and then there's going to be demolition for the floors that are going to be for the hotel. Those demolition periods are going to be about 6 months each, and then the construction period for each component is going to be 1 year. The projected completion date, I believe, is June of 26. Yeah, the projected completion is June 2026.
And those demolitions, so that's just to make sure I'm on the same page, you're putting in 227 apartments?
Yes, sir.
And how does that break down? Is there I know that you're going to have 210 key luxury hotels. I guess that's just for a hotel for 210 people and 227 apartments. How does that break down in terms of affordable rates? Will we have affordable apartments there, or will this all be market rate?
Again, thank you for your question. Due to the market positioning of this asset, it'll be entirely market-driven at this time.
I see. And then what are those market rates on average? What are we talking about? How much would it cost me if I wanted to have an apartment there?
We were just looking at that last night on average. Just looking at the data that we have today, the average unit is projected to cost about $2,500. Again, and this isn't just your average product in downtown Cleveland. It's going to be able to take advantage of the W Hotel programming and, be able to go up to the rooftop deck, 40 stories up, don't look over the edge. But it's going to be a unique property.
A who property?
A unique property.
A unique property?
Yes, sir.
And how many square foot spaces that 2,500 a month property gets me?
Let me see. The average square foot, it's 764. And I'm sorry, Councilman, I misspoke. The average rent per unit, I must have my rose-colored glasses on when I was looking at that yesterday. It's 1,910, the average rent per unit. And the average square foot per unit is going to be 764 square foot. And it's going to be a mix of studio units, one-bedroom units, and two-bedroom units.
And is that the largest, of the 764 square foot, or is that, what's your, I mean, I know you have different ones, so you have one at 764 square foot, that would be $1,910. And then is that the largest square footage that you would have for your apartment units there?
No. That's the average. 764 is the average, so there are units smaller and then larger than that. I don't have those numbers in front of me now. I could get back to you with the answer to those questions, but I believe what we were looking at yesterday, the unit sizing goes up to about 1,100 square foot.
On that point, if I may, Councilman Jones.
Councilman Jones, was allowed to point.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I always
Councilwoman
yield to my
Spencer.
colleagues.
Thank you, Councilman Jones. Through the chair, brief point, is there an average rent per square foot number for the project? Or just to repeat the numbers that were just shared, did I understand correctly? Average rent 1,910, and average square foot per unit 764?
Correct.
Okay. And could we get to an average rent per square foot by combining those two? Okay.
Mr. Morehouse, you got your calculator out?
He's working on it.
Thank you, Councilman Jones.
My pleasure.
Thank you for the questions and points to the council members. The average rent per square foot that I just calculated is $2.50 a square foot.
Thank you, Mr. Morehouse, for your quick math.
Anytime.
Councilman Joe Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Then if we could move to the 210 key luxury hotels or luxury rooms, how big are they and how much would they be renting for?
Thank you for that question. I don't know the answer. I'd have to get back to you on that. I think average hotel room sizing is between 400 to 500 square feet.
And I guess I would add that this is, I mean, this is different than a Holiday Inn or a, Renaissance. Well, we don't have the Renaissance anymore. What is that called now? Cleveland something. Or
Just trying to figure out what it's going to be
Right,
like.
yeah.
How
Yeah.
big is it? Because if I want to go down there and
And I think
say
you mentioned that the average hotel room size between 4,500 square feet.
4,500 square feet.
Pretty, decent size. But I think it's because of all of the other additions you get, because it's a W, will drive that cost. And I would assume that, there's an average, but then the different markets also push that up. I'm sure the W hotel charge a night is different in California, LA, than it is in, Cleveland. Or maybe I'm wrong, maybe not. Mr. Morehouse?
You are not wrong. To be sure, the characteristics of each location drive the rent or the rate, so on and so forth. There's a lot more going on out in California than there is in Cleveland at this point. That'll change someday.
Just a little. But we're on their heels, though.
Right.
Right. Okay. Councilman Joe Jones?
Yes, and Mr. Chairman, just, the reason why I'm asking these questions is kind of like feel what this development is going to be like once it's developed out, right? So getting the idea of when we talk about the 227 apartments. Of course, you have to have the living space, and then if it's two, rooms there, or will there be will be 3 rooms, or just you're limited to 2 rooms for the apartments? And if you don't know, if you could get that back, that would be great. And Mr. Chairman, I've had the opportunity to go, and when we went on a tour, to take a look at this building, and it's pretty impressive. The size and the scope, some of the rooms that we were in that were office rooms, the views are absolutely spectacular of the lake. And so just trying to get a feel of what that would mean, what it would look like there. So if you could get back with me and let me know about that, what does this really fundamentally mean? And then you're talking about office space too, right? So how many office spaces would be available once this is up and running?
Mr. Morehouse?
Yeah, thank you for your question. There's going to be 300,000 square feet of office space. If we look at the stack plan, I think it's 12 floors of office. Each floor of Erie View Plaza is about, I believe, 27,000 square feet. So the average office occupier in the city of Cleveland, or in the market, looking at Cuyahoga County in general, they don't need that much space. So it's going to take large occupiers that we hope are going to be attracted by the amenities that are going to be provided by the W Hotel. Perhaps there might be some senior executives that will live at the residences. We hate to see in Cleveland, it seems like there's a shuffle of the same tenants from building to building. We hope to, here at this project, create something new that will attract people from outside of the market to come to downtown Cleveland.
With all the LA folks.
Right. Well, it's getting really rough in the southern portions of the state. So hopefully they'll come to recognize that Cleveland is the best location in the nation.
That's right.
And that we have all the opportunities here.
Green City on the Blue Lake.
That's right. It was the Green City on the Blue Lake. I like that. And so hopefully we can start getting some of those folks coming up here. But going back to the economic impact and the creation of jobs. So how do we get to the number of 604 jobs that will be created and the retention of approximately 658 jobs?
Thank you. Thank you for the question, Councilman.
And that can be found, Mr. Chairman, in the executive file that was given to us.
Yeah. We looked, there was a report performed by Ice Miller for the project's TMET award that occurred a couple years ago. From that projection, we have to look at the Ice Miller report to look at their specific methodology, but essentially you can check the logic just by looking at how many employees would traditionally fit in a certain amount of space. So you look at like how many employees are there per 1,000 square foot of office. You could say, 3 or 4. And then, so if you look at, there's, 300,000 square foot of office space divided by 1,000, and then times, 3, if you multiply that times 3, you get 900 employees, but there's going to be some floors that are going to be held vacant for tenant expansions, so on and so forth. There's going to be some flexibility in the building. So looking at the hotel is going to have its own staff, its own number of jobs. I think just looking at the, it's going to be a challenge, but looking at, between the numbers of hotel employees and the number of office employees that'll come in and take that office space, plus the employees that'll come into the Galleria, the project, it's like, as a whole, like 75% vacant right now. We hope that we can, turn, this current situation into a situation where we have the number of jobs that we projected. We said 604 jobs. Hopefully, we can blow the roof off that and exceed that number. But in today's environment, we thought it would be best to be conservative.
I see. Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to yield on these lines of questionings. I do want to ask questions after my colleague, if you haven't asked questions on because you may, on the community benefits side. I just want to say that I'm certainly in support of this project and all of its facets. I think that the investment from the Kasu family to put this here will reinvigorate that site location. It's a beautiful site location. I think that if we can get that investment there and cross our fingers that all things work right, it would absolutely be a diamond in the rough that is currently in, and hopefully help to invigorate economic development in the surrounding businesses, and then just make sure I'm on the same page. And it's on the east side of the city of Cleveland. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, great. So with that being said, I'm definitely in support of it. I'll yield, Mr. Chairman, for further questions on the community benefits after my colleague, with the preference of the chair.
Thank you, Councilman Joe
Thank you.
Jones. Councilwoman Santana.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, I'm happy that the slide is up. So through the chair, I definitely want to talk about workforce. One of the things that I'm realizing now is that our outreach to recruit contractors are so late in the game.
Yeah.
And so when I go to these projects, our residents are not benefiting, right? So I just want to kind of warn you that my questions are going to be around that. So through the chair to Mr. Morehouse, congrats, this is a great project. I used to be a valet driver at the Galleria, yes, I did, yes. So I remember, how many people, used to enjoy. Yeah, in the cafeteria, yeah. A long time. Hey, okay, don't play with me. So through the chair to Mr. Morehouse, I know you mentioned the 604 numbers, but that's not, through the chair to Morehouse, how many jobs are just specifically for construction?
Yeah. Mr. Morehouse?
Thank you. Yeah, and to be sure, those jobs are post-completion numbers, the construction job numbers, and the construction job numbers should be, let me see. We have the payroll numbers in the slide deck. I don't see a specific number for construction jobs that are only temporary, but there's going to be enormous. Oh, thank you, Andy. That's in the
Okay.
fine print. It looks like 264 construction workers.
264, okay. Now, through the chair to Mr. Morehouse, you mentioned in a month you guys will start some type of activity. Is that for the construction jobs? Okay.
Yes.
So, through the chair, and maybe Tyson, or anyone that could answer, what type of outreach has taken place to recruit residents for this project?
Great question.
Yeah, thank you. At this point, we're working with Cleveland Construction. We're finalizing the GMP contract for them. We're finalizing a contract for the demolition contractor. They have their own staff. In large part, there's going to be a significant runway before we get to the point where we bring in contractors, and there's going to be a whole lot of employees working on, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, finishing, building out units, that kind of thing. So that's to come, but within the community benefits agreement, there are provisions requiring and that the construction manager will hold community outreach events to reach out to MBE, CSB, FBE contractors in the city, and as well as employees. There will be community outreach events, and we will hold regular meetings with the city so that we're in sync with OEO and the construction manager and everybody on the team to help facilitate and meet these goals. It's one thing to have these goals, it's another thing to meet them. We're aware of that. We will do the hard work. We'll get it done.
Okay, so through the chair, what you're saying is like in a month, contractors will start in the project, and these are the larger contractors, but it's, or, I don't know what they're called, project like managers, right? But then our residents, the smaller contractors, are not in place as of yet until you guys start doing the subs, until they start doing the community outreach for that, right? And so that time frame, probably we're looking for in next year, not this year.
Correct.
Okay. What happens, through the chair to maybe Tyson, if these community benefit goals are not met?
Through the chair to the council person, we have penalties in the agreement. Penalties potentially in this agreement total probably around 3.3 million total as a group. So we do have penalties in the agreement.
And through the chair, you monitor
That's-
that quarterly? How
That's
does that
correct.
work? Okay,
Well,
thank you.
the 180, the construction numbers will come in monthly, and the resident participation numbers will come in monthly, but the community benefits compliance in general will come in quarterly. So,
And are you helping with the community outreach as well to recruit local residents for these contractor positions?
through the chair to the council person, we will help when they get to that point. We will be able to send out the communications through our B2G database, and it will go to all our certified contractors in our database.
Got it, okay.
So yes.
And the reason I'm asking this is because there's such a disconnect. I still haven't been able to figure it out. But we have these goals in place, and then as soon as the project starts, when you go to these projects to see, and I know you're smiling because, right, you know it's true, that people say, oh, we couldn't recruit, women, black, contractors, Latino contractors. And it's pretty frustrating because you want the project to get done, but then the residents are not benefiting from these projects. So I guess I'm trying to find our role and working with the administration to figure out how do we connect these pieces where we're being intentional about training, because that's part of the CBA as well. We're recruiting on time, not waiting till the last minute. And our residents are benefiting for this funding that we're allocating, we're approving. So I would love to work with you, and I know this is not like our role, because then you end up going into like this whole recruitment process, but we are we are passionate about ensuring that our residents are benefiting from these projects that are taking place in our city. So thank you on that. And if you have any ads or any job fairs, please send it to council where we could put it in our newsletter. The second thing, and the last thing I would say, is I'm really excited to see the allocation for CMSD school. So through the chair, you know that we're in this whole campaign for issue 49. Our schools really need, this funding to help our children. Do we have a list of all the projects that we have approved that maybe through the TIF that CMSD will benefit from the allocation? Do we have that?
Through the chair to Councilwoman Santana, yes. I actually was at a public meeting, Councilwoman Spencer's ward the other day, where I kind of compiled all that for the last year. I might be able to find it on my phone. It's a pretty substantial number of what CMSD receives on an annualized basis through projects that happen because of TIFs.
Good. If you could send that, because that's something that we should be sharing with the public. And I will yield. Thank you.
Go ahead. The chair to the council person, can I add one thing here? You make a valid point about trying to do these things early. I mean, as Mr. Morehouse stated, they're about to start demolition. And sometimes we have to find those low-hanging fruit areas where we can get participation. So I have not seen their construction plan yet, but demo is an area that we can get participation. But if that passes us by, without some outreach, then we will have missed that early opportunity. So that might be an area.
And thank you. And like I said, I just, I meet with these developers after the project, after we approve funding, and then you look around and their contractors don't represent, the MBE, FBE, and you're like, what's going on? And their excuse is always, well, we can't find them. But when I'm on the ground, I talk to people constantly that can do those smaller drywall,
Demo.
Demo, yeah, things like that. So I just want us to be more intentional to ensuring that we get more of our residents on these projects. Okay, thank you, I yield.
Yep.
Thank you.
So Through the chair to Councilwoman Santana, I actually did pull this up. So Councilman Harrison actually now sits on our Tax Incentive Review Council, which meets annually and looks at the totality of tax incentives that are given out. So this is for 2023. There are 52 non-school TIFs that currently exist at the City of Cleveland through last year. There are 2 school agreement TIFs, right? And so our traditional non-schools TIFs in which the school receives the entirety of its portion. Every once in a while, the school can enter into a direct agreement if it's going to exceed that threshold. There are 2 of those. So last year, there were $12,322,577 in pilots, payment in lieu of taxes, that were received by the City of Cleveland. So that is that kind of non-schools portion that is coming back. Again, property owner will make their payment in lieu of taxes to the county. The school will receive their portion. That money came back in. What that means is that the City of Cleveland foregone $3,200,600.98 of taxes that we otherwise would have received because of that.
That's great, okay.
Cleveland Metropolitan School District received over $18 million in payments of lieu of taxes last year because of TIFs, right? And since those are projects that otherwise likely would not have happened without tax increment financing, right? That is $18 million last year that CMSD wouldn't have received if these projects had not gone forward.
That is great. People do need to know that. Thank you.
Thank you,
Got it, thank
Councilwoman.
you. Councilman Jones asked for a point.
Yeah, well, Mr. Chairman, I just want to start asking questions if my colleague is finished, so I'll just leave off where she
Well,
left off.
we got others on the list. You want to get back on the list?
No, I thought I was on the list after
No.
her comments.
You
So
had
that's
someone
fine,
else
yes.
after hers, and I'll
Please.
come back to you once we
Yes, sir.
finish, okay? Thank you. Councilwoman Spencer? You good? Okay. Let me ask you this. So the numbers that were given to us by the project developers, did your department review those numbers?
Yes, sir.
Those ROIs? So
Yes,
your
sir.
department reviewed those, and they all make sense to you?
Yes, sir.
None of them are inflated?
They make sense to Ms. Brown to my left,
Okay.
much less so to me, sir.
Okay, all right. And
Got you on TV?
that's important that you all actually look at those numbers as well. We have full faith and confidence in our external partners. However, we rely on their department to review these numbers and ensure that they are correct and legit.
Yes, sir. We
All
run a
right?
financial analyst on all projects.
Okay, got it. Thank you. And just to make a point for those who are watching as well, part of the reason, with the penalties for these projects is so that way, and the reasoning behind why, some would say that they are high is so that way projects just don't bake them into the overall cost of the project, right? Which has been a problem, for many years that, well, I just, I won't do anything. We can name many projects across the city, and we just add that penalty to our overall project costs, and we'll figure it out along the way how to be paid. And listening to the high penalties that are here on this project also gives many of us assurances that, the project will happen the way that the group is proposing, and the fact that they have a great group who's helping to put the project together, who has led many projects here across the city, KJK and TurnDev and others, and I know that they'll be working together to not only meet but look to exceed these goals. And Mr. Morehouse, when do you intend to get the construction map together for construction document together for OEL? For review.
And candidly, we're in the process of coordinating on our team. I thought it would have happened right now, so
Gotcha.
any minute now, any day now.
Okay. All right, good.
We're working on it.
Okay, thank you. That's important because that'll give Director Mitchell what he needs to get set up within his office to ensure that, goals are being met, and the work that is said is going to be done is actually getting done. We know that it will, but that gives Director Mitchell what he needs to get moving, all right, to get set up. Councilman Joe Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to be brief here. I'm going to leave off where Jasmine Santana was talking about, and this is dealing with community benefits. And she touched upon the proposition, and which I agree, is that we have a number of these agreements in place in terms of community benefits, and I'm not talking in specific to directly this administration, but in past administrations, we've had community benefits, and it seems that we just have not met those goals. And one of the things is, the question was asked, as you're starting construction now, do we have any primary African-American contractors who will be working with you on this?
Thank you for the question. There are only so many developers or construction managers in the country that have the size to take on this project. It's Marriott, they're an international company. They're extremely picky, and our lenders have a lot of criterias. And I guess the answer is no, there isn't going to be a MBE primary contractor, but there will undoubtedly be MBE subcontractors. I'd also like to point out in the CBA, there are, we understand what the constraints are, and so one key component of the CBA that I like is the mentor program, so that we can grow and scale up MBEs, FBEs, CSBs.
So I guess that's, okay. So the answer pretty much roughly is that because this project is what it is, you have a certain criteria, and I guess you would be working with the outside organization that will be helping you to bring in a primary contractor to do the work. I'm kind of trying to read between that.
Yeah. Let me be clear. Independence Construction, they're going to be the construction manager.
Okay.
And they will be bringing on the subcontractors to complete the work. And so there will be MBE, FBE, CSB subcontractors brought in accordance with the CBA. And there's also going to be a mentor-protege relationship.
Right.
So I don't know who that other party is going to be to that relationship at this point, but we're working on it.
It would be good, and it's not, and this is for the administrative side as well, as well as you sitting here at the table. One of the things is that goal of 20% MBE and 10% FBE and 10% CSB participation. And one of the things I found, being a minority business person in the city of Cleveland, is really difficult and hard to get your foot in the door. As you've heard Jasmine Santana talk about, there are local electricians. There are people who do drywalling. There's so many different trades that minorities are participating here, but a lot of times I hear the same story that she's been told. We can't find anyone. And when you look at, and we talked about this yesterday when we were talking about lead abatement in the city of Cleveland, when you look at the two sides of Cleveland, you have one that haves, and then you have the have-nots. Some folks call them the po folk. And so they don't have the same kind of opportunities as others in the city of Cleveland to have a foot up or even know about these programs. So the next question is, how are we promoting our community benefits to get the participation so that we can have, if you don't, or not doing it, or are you, or how? So it's a two-part question. How are you promoting the benefits program to get participation? And the other half of this is, how is the city working to make sure that in this agreement is fulfilled by making sure that we have the people there?
Thank you for the question. To be sure, this will be carried out by the construction manager, but in practice, I've seen that the construction manager, they're continually trying to identify MBE, CSB, FE contractors to work with. Aside from that, as is required in the CBA, there are outreach events where we'll partner with the city, like the construction manager will send out their own communications. The city will send out a communication through its programs. And the critical piece is awareness. And so there will be events held where it's critical for the folks trying to get their foot in the door to attend. Often, there will be, I've seen construction managers, try to intermix the MBE, CSB, FEEs as much as possible into their program, to construct a project. And they're driven out of the need to do the right thing, but also the need to meet the goals.
Does the city have a response?
Through the chair to the councilperson, as Rich Morehouse stated, we will help out and send out the information. We will strongly encourage the outreach events. That's very important. One of the things I do want to back up and just state that the community benefits legislation does not mean that the MBE, FBE, CSB portion will be met. It means that the other community benefits listed will be met, such as use of CPP, use $150,000 in local artist spend. We have penalties. The MBE, FBE, CSB certified spend still is subject to the good faith that we still have to find, we still have to bring them, they still have to, the pricing has to be met. So I just wanted to clarify that with the community benefits agreement, it helps for particularly for the other things listed that we were historically not received. So, but the MBE, FBE, CSB is still going to be a work in progress.
Can I get a point on that?
Yes. Councilman Jones?
Yes,
Yeah,
Mr. Chair.
thank you. Director, on that point, so are there goals that they do have to meet? Like there's just, like you said, I know it's a good faith effort, but if we share that, I feel like with the developers, they're like, hey, this is good faith, but we weren't able to meet it. But when will the penalties come in if they don't meet a certain goal?
Through the chair to the council person, particularly for the MBE, FBE spend, the penalty comes in more towards the end of the project. So we monitor it as it goes. Well, first of all, they submit a plan. If it doesn't work on paper, if we can't get to the goals on paper, then that's the opportunity to say, where can we be more intentional? Like the demo, like the professional services, like the architectural. A lot of times these projects come and they're already built with architectural in mind, but there's architectural work that goes on during the project. So if we want to be intentional, in my opinion, we have to include all those aspects of the project to try to be intentional. So back to your point, it has to work on paper first. So show me on paper where we can meet these goals. And if they're struggling on paper, then that's when we can come in and try to see where can we be intentional. But that comes a little more toward, further down the road where we receive that plan and go over that.
Mr. Chairman, and here's where we have the ongoing generational problems right here. And, you saw me rubbing my head because I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated because this city, over the space and time, has not been consistent, and I'm not referring to just this administration, but previous administrations in terms of hiring minorities and giving them an opportunity to thrive in the city of Cleveland. And again, you can obviously see it between the neighborhoods. And you can see that there are people, especially minorities, that are consistently have higher rates of unemployment and not given opportunities. And if we're going to have a Cleveland that is equal on both sides, all the way around, then we have to give our citizens an opportunity to participate. So now the question would be then over here on this side, because this is a lot of money. I do support the project. I do believe in economic development, but I also believe that we should do a little bit more. So I don't know if that is our participation as a city. I know that we have relations with different key players. We could talk about community college. I don't know how we cultivate and stimulate the foundation. I know it's a heck of a job that you do, Director. The question would be then, if we don't meet those participations, those goals, or we're looking like we're short in those goals, I would suggest, Mr. Chairman, that do we make time to call even elected officials and council members and say, hey, we need some electricians, we need some carpenters, we haven't been able to find them, we need some drywallers, we need these people because, Mr. Chairman, it's been stated here at the table that we are a hybrid operation. Meaning that council members are doing everything today. When it comes to issues of crime, you know, I get calls from my constituents. They want to see my face if they don't see the police officers. If it comes to issues of code enforcement, I'm dealing with those issues. We have citizens who are looking for jobs, wanting jobs. We have a number of people who are certified in various different fields. If this side of the table hasn't met those goals for whatever reason, have we begun the proposition to do partnership with this side of the table? Because then you can start talking to the various different elected officials and saying, hey, we need these people. Can you find some of these folks? I don't know if that's doable, Mr. Chairman, but I'd like to see if there's any, is that possible?
If the table can respond, Mr. Mitchell, because we got to move on to the next piece. One of our colleagues is speaking this morning. I want to make sure we get there. Yes. Okay, thank you.
Through the chair to the councilperson, one of the things I can say, if the developer is short on the goals, that's what the penalties are designed for. The penalties are designed to go back into the ecosystem. So let's say they're short on FBE and they pay a $50,000 penalty. The penalty will go into the equity fund, and then the council and the administration can come together and say, how can we use that $50,000 to put into the fund to develop more electricians, HVAC persons from the neighborhood? So we're going to have an opportunity as an administration and council to get together and say, all right, we have a few dollars in this pot. What are we going to do to help the system? So it is coming.
And if I may, through the chair to Councilman Jones, you know, I think you're talking about a systemic issue that exists here. This body did allocate $10 million in ARPA funding through the Cleveland-Cuyahoga County Workforce Development Board, big mouthful, right, for the Built Environment Collaborative, which is designed specifically to start addressing some of the issues that you're talking about on how do we start getting more, particularly Cleveland resident minority contractors into the trades. Right, so while I think that is a long-term, you know, that a lot of work needs to be done there, this body did allocate, I believe it was the 8th largest allocation of ARPA to start to address that issue. Yeah.
Councilman Joe Jones?
Mr. Chairman, I yield the floor.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the robust discussion this morning. Again, this is not the first time we've seen this project. We will have another opportunity to vet this at finance meeting next week. If there's any additional follow-up questions as well, Mr. Morehouse, please work with council staff, Mr. Titron, to get over any responses to the questions that were asked of you all today. We would appreciate it. And Councilwoman Santana is going to begin working with OEO to get updates on not only this project, but other projects that we are approving tips on, so that way council can stay on top of, you know, how goals are happening along with on these projects, okay? All right.
Chair, really quick, does that have to be included on this legislation, or we'll leave that
No,
for
we'll-
finance?
we'll leave that for
make
finance.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you. So the ordinance 1068-2024 stands approved. And I have the reading of the ordinance for the actual TIF legislation. Ordinance number 1069-2024 by Councilmembers Hairston, McCormick, and Griffin by departmental request and emergency ordinance, authorizing Director of Economic Development to enter into a tax increment financing agreement with Erie View Holdings LLC, Erie View Tower LLC, Erie View Galleria LLC, Erie View Tower Residential LLC, and or its designee to assist with the financing of the Tower Galleria and parking garage project to be located at 100 Erie View Tower, 1301 East 9th Street, Cleveland, Ohio, to provide for payments to the Cleveland Metropolitan School District and to declare certain improvements to real property to be a public purpose. The committee all has the amendment on your tablets as well, and it is here in the piece, so I'm not going to read the amendment. The amendment is just identifying in the easements that are along with the property and identifying easements, parcel numbers, and other clarifying information about the project. It's very, very long. It's all the technical easements, recorded this date, recorded that date. Again, each of the committee members has this on their tablet and in front of them as well, okay? Any thoughts or questions from the administration on that? None. All right. Since we have discussed both the tax abatement and the TIF together, if I see no objections, ordinance number 1069-2024 as amended stands approved. All right? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Morehouse. Thank you, Mr. Wolfslinger. All right, thank you so much. All right? Yes.
Can I ask her, there was 1068, 2024, and 1069, is that all included?
We just did it.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morehouse.
He's on it.
And again, there's no ban at the Erie View Galleria. All are welcome as long as they behave and act accordingly as relates to all city laws and ordinances, okay? All right, thank you. All right, we're going to start with ordinance number emergency ordinance number 1013-2024 by council members Harrison and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the mayor and the commissioner of purchases and supplies to acquire and reconvey properties presently owned by 1030 East 62nd LLC and or its designee located at 1030 East 62nd Street for the purpose of entering into a chain of title prior to the adoption of tax increment financing legislation authorized under section 5709.41 of the revised code for the 1030 East 62nd redevelopment project. Again, to the committee members, this is the first of two steps that has to be followed before we issue a TIF for a project. This is just a chain of title. This does not set up or allow for any financing for the project at this current stage. This is simply the first step. So this project will come back to us for a second time, as the Erie Review did today, to dig into the actual TIF amounts, what that looks like, and everything else around centered around TIF. Ms. Candy Mashmore, good to see you this morning. Thank you for being so patient with us this morning. Director Robin, Director Mitchell.
Mr. Chairman, before we
Yes.
start, which one are we on?
1013.
Okay, thank you.
Chain of title. So this does not authorize any funding. This is the first step. They'll give a very brief overview of the project. And when we come back for the actual TIF ordinance, and we will have more details to share then in terms of TIF value and all those other important details. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, and thank you for introducing us. So without further delay, I will hand it over to Ms. Mashmore, who can talk a little bit about, there's your clicker if you want to go through these, her project, and we will then go through the incentives.
Good morning. I am very nervous. I'm never nervous with Anthony, with the councilman, but with all of you, it's different. Thank you for this opportunity. So we are, this building is actually a project, it's my American dream. It is, I'm Latina. Yes. I came to this country 35 years ago. I was a cleaning lady. And today, my goal is to pay back for everything this country gave my family and I. So this building, I was offered this building by a dear friend that you most know, Gus Frangles. And when I first saw the building, people thought that I was crazy, but I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. This building has been abandoned for many, many years. It's a 68,000 square feet building. We took 50 40-yard dumpsters of trash from the building. Our plans for redevelopment, including it's 3 buildings. The main building, it's a landmark building. It used to be the AGA, the American Gas Association. And we had to go through all the process. And so it's 3 buildings. The south building, it's where I'm going to put my company, that it's an e-commerce that works basically with the sustainable, recycled, natural fibers and organic products for home. It's mostly textiles. The main building, the second floor, is going to be the largest showroom for home textiles in Northeast Ohio. The first floor is going to be a work area for minorities, mostly women. We will have a daycare, a drop-in daycare, and it's going to be a co-work area where we are going to bring also people like accountants and lawyers and the councilman. He doesn't know yet, but he's going to be there a lot. And we are going to be working with the minorities to try and help them open their own companies and how to succeed in business. So we will have a space with the top-of-the-line amenities and tools so they can use. And this is my passion, so I'm going to be working with them myself. And the North Building, it's going to be, we are leasing it to a small manufacturing of very large fans for arenas, and it's a small company that also is going to help us improve the neighborhood. When I bought the building, I spoke to every neighbor in the street, and I asked them for their permission. I told them what we were doing, and I wanted their support. And they are very happy with what we've been doing so far. We've been planting trees already in the neighborhood. We've been, the building is clean. We are there on a daily basis. So this is basically what the buildings are going to be used for. But in reality, we are going to be working with the students from the area to bring them and learn about everything that I do, from trend to design to photography to social media. We want to teach these kids in the area that they don't have to be only working at food places, only McDonald's and this. We want them to know that they can use their passion for their cell phone and their computers and make that a good living with so many influencers and so many people that are using this now. I think that this is going to give them a new perspective. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No,
a new perspective in life, and it's going to show them
You can flick to the
that
buildings.
if they want to move up, there are people out there that are going to help them. We are very strong on community service. We want to work with the Ward 10 because that's our home now. We have 2 buildings in that little part of the city, and we started the project with the help of councilmen. We decorated a room in one of the schools, and you've seen.
Yep.
It was so the first month we said we are gonna decorate the room, give them a corner where. Can I show you that so they can see? So this is the main building. So we went to Clark School, and we decorated a room for the kids. This is the room that we decorated for them. From 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, one child read on the first month. And then I promised that every first of the month I would come in and see the reader of the month, and we'll give them a $25 gift card. This is on the 2nd of October, where kids were sitting there, and if you look, they are all reading. So we decided to give to each grade a $25 gift card because Chloe, the winner, she reads nonstop. So there was no competition. Right. So we had to divide among weekends.
Very smart.
Right.
But the thing is, the councilman is participating also financially with this, giving another $25. And if we have to bribe them to make them read and to have a passion for reading and learning, so we will do it.
That's nice.
And we are going to do, I want to get to do all the schools, all the schools in our ward, and maybe get other companies to start doing the same thing in their wards also, because we can see, I speak to Ebony, the teacher, very often, and she says that she sees the difference in the children by having this space, that it's their space. Yes. So I think that community coming to a place like this and getting help from the government, it helps us understand the needs of that community. So this is this is the first of the projects that we've done. We work very close with the Councilman Hairston, and being a minority myself, all the employees that we have are minorities. So I make sure that we have trained already people to help us with the building. So we are training one now in electrical. My construction manager, it's an electrical engineer, so he's teaching someone, and we are going to certify, make sure that he goes to get certified, and then we are going to do MBE. And so we are very small, and I'm very nervous. I talk a lot, but I'm very nervous. So this whole idea for this building, it's to really create a haven for people like myself when I first came to this country. And I'm very fortunate that my children went to school, and they went to Ivy Leagues, and I have doctors and lawyers, and they are very important to us. Education. And I think that I was fortunate to push my children, and I think that, like I was talking to the teacher, and she says that maybe 5% of the parents come to parent-teacher conferences. So what we try to do is, when this building is ready, is to create also once a month a mother's meeting. So all the mothers will come in, and we will have something to eat and wine and discuss kids' education. We are going to have a game night where fathers will come with the children to play. So we are creating a lot of community benefits for the area with the help of our councilmen. I think that once we get also the business on the second floor for the trade, I think that we are going to be able to attract people from Chicago and from Pennsylvania, from Pittsburgh, from the area to come in, because I've been in this business for 35 years. I have a lot of experience, and I'm known by, I had 6 of the largest retailers in the world as my client, my customers. So they want to come in and buy out of Cleveland. So to us, this is very important to bring, and in the future, maybe bring a trade fair here to Cleveland out of Chicago. This is the goals that we are having. Fighting crime, we are having problems with the building from the beginning, but the way we are fighting crime is the councilman is helping us having more police presence in the area, but also speaking to the neighbors and staying at the building, and when we see people approaching, talking to them and saying, we are trying to improve the neighborhood. It has been helping, but still, we reach a little bit of the people, but it's making a difference already in the neighborhood. So this project, it's really a community project. We are putting our money in it. The majority of the money that is being there so far has been our money, and we are really, really committed to have minority working with us. We don't say working for us, because being a Latina, I'm one of them. And I think that it's really my passion. I lost my daughter 13 years ago, and this project, it's in her memory. So everything that I do it's not for the money. It's really for the hopes that the happiness and every smile that we bring, every person that succeeds, her soul is gonna go a little bit further up and further up. So I am 100% committed to get this project going and be a success.
Thank you. Thank you. As you can see, very, 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 very passionate about the work that she does and wanting to support and help the community. And the person you see today is the same person I met at the very beginning of this. Has not wavered, has not changed, very high energy, and really just wants to do good in the community. She is renting a property now that she wants to get out of and that she can make her own. I had worked a long time with the land bank to find someone to take this property. Many people came and looked at this building and took a walk, right? The last person we had on the hook was going to do some residential stuff, but it didn't work out, and so she came along. I said, why not? Let's try it. And it worked, all right? And Gus Frango's and his team was very active in helping us pull together everything that you see here today, along with the city of Cleveland, and Robin Brown has been stellar. Our development corporation, Famicos, have been a part of this project along the way as well, helping to, bring all of this together. And so the residents on the street sees her, they like her, and it's only about 4 houses on the street. It's a very tight street, and so they keep a lookout. And the part of the reason you have problems at this building is because it's been abandoned for so long, and so people made this their hangout, right?
Yes.
And so people who may have not been there for quite some time are coming back to, and then somebody's there and like, you can't be here. Oh, well, it wasn't the, that wasn't the case back then, but those few residents will run them away as well. One of them has passed along. I think his wife has also moved out of the house. You have another neighbor who's there. So a little bit of change on the street, and so we're happy to bring this building back to life. It's on the back end of the Dominion, now Enbridge Gas Company off of 55th Street. Yep. You sit right in the back of their parking lot area next to Gardenia Park as well. And so I'll turn it over to the director to briefly jump into what has been provided here for the project, so that way we can move on. All right? Thank you.
Excuse me, I just would like to say one thing. I would like to thank Robin Brown. She has been such a strong support of and I am really a pain in the neck. And I call her and I email her, and she has been incredible in giving me information. And I think, I don't know you, but Robin has been such a big part of this project, and I couldn't have done it without your help.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Robin. Director?
I want to thank Ms. Mashmore for your passion and your investment in the city, and would agree with you. I think that Robin Brown is an amazing asset for the city of Cleveland that's done a lot of great work over the years.
Remember that.
You
hear me?
And 10:30.
You hear what I said? Remember that.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Yes.
And as you can see here, 1030 East 62nd Street, as Councilman said, has been vacant and abandoned for a number of years, having quite the negative impact on our community. And so, the ability to bring this back to life, I think, is a really tremendous opportunity for all of us. But there are a couple of different ways that we are supporting this project. The first one in front of us, Ordinance 1013, is utilizing that tax increment financing that we are looking at, so that Ms. Mashmore's investments that she's making is going to be able to recapture the value that comes after this. Again, for purposes of today, we are here for the chain of title, right? So this will come back to you, but the city will now take title for a day to kind of set the value in this. But this is projected of an estimated value over the course of time, about $163,000 over here. CMSD, incidentally, over the course of the 30 years, would make about $567,000 that they are not otherwise making during the life of this TIF. So again, I think a powerful tool, but again, you look at the increased tax revenue to both the city of Cleveland over the course of time and CMSD over the course of time. The life of this TIF is about $1.7 million. Additionally, to support this project, and this is going to be in Ordinance 1016, the Department of Economic Development is looking at a loan. Some of you may recall the Vacant Property Initiative, now defunct program for the city of Cleveland, but this had been kind of put in place before that program was taken down. So we will be giving a $360,000 5-year forgivable loan to this, so that if Ms. Mashmore meets her job creation numbers in those 50 jobs, that loan will be forgiven. So no payments, no interest in the period of that time. And then a $240,000 non-forgivable loan, 10 years, 4% interest over that course of time. And so both of those things together allowing us to help get this incredible project off the ground. As a portion of a project that is receiving over $250,000 of city funding, but under the $20 million total project cost. There will be community benefits, standard community benefits as a part of this project. And with that, I will let Director Mitchell talk about what is contained in those community benefits.
All right, thank you all. Thank you all. Right here on this project, we have, of course, the MBE, FBE numbers, CSB on the smaller project. One of the things I'm very excited about is the Mentor Protege. They're going to develop 4 MBE/FBE firms to mentor on a capacity building side. That's an example of what a Mentor Protege program should be. That Ms. Mashmore talked about, the electricians, the plumbers, they're going to start developing them. That's the example of what Mentor Protege is designed to be right here. Of course, we're going to have the Fannie Lewis 20%. We're going to develop some CMSD students, 2 paid internships. We are very big on internships being paid. I think when we came up, you could work for free, but now I think Department of Labor, we want you to be paid. So we got 2 internships and job opportunities, and we're going to do community meetings, at least 3, before, during, and after. And the other thing is they'll report out on a monthly or quarterly basis. So this is a standard CBA under $20 million. It's very cut and dry, but I'm really excited about the Mentor Protege program.
Absolutely. Thank you, Director. And as you see, this is a very small project, compared to a $200 million project or $20 million project. And we are still achieving some community benefits on this project as outlined here by the department and both directors and Mrs. Mashmore as well. Councilman Jones, you had a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me, Mrs. Candy Mashmore,
Yes.
out of the, I would say, 30-some years, going all the way back, initially being on Cleveland City Council, and over 40-some years, 45 years in terms of actually participating in politics at some level, from passing out flyers to giving stump speeches in public square. I would say that you're the first person I've seen come here at the table and talk about how you're going to help in the neighborhood and the overall process of what you're going to give to the neighborhood and give back to the community. I'm very appreciative, and I'm certainly supportive of this project and helping you. And I'm thankful for Mrs. Brown, because there's a lot of people, Mr. Chairman, to the director, especially when we were dealing with docks. We had a person too who was going back and forth. So I was appreciative to be able to have that person represent the city of Cleveland, and I could direct all of that over there to that person. So I just want to thank Ms. Brown for her work. And I know that you've already been given the accolades here at the table for this. But I see no other person as, of all the monies and the millions of dollars that we constantly give out here at the city of Cleveland to a lot of different folks, no one certainly at the level of what you're talking about doing and talking about giving back to the neighborhood. And this particular building here, taking it out of its condition and actually you cleaned, and I guess the question would be, have you cleaned the entire building out and the entire land too?
Yep.
Impressive. So I got to go, and because I know some of these pictures here, are these older pictures than what it was before?
Yes.
So I would love, Mr. Chairman, to my colleague to have an opportunity to look at that. And certainly, I'm impressed with the presentation, and I really don't, it's self-explanatory on what it's going to do. I'm in full support of the project, and Godspeed. I hope you can help as many people out in the neighborhood and the community. We need to have more people like you investing in the city of Cleveland and working to make our communities whole again. And so I'm very appreciative to your entire presentation, And as you may have saw me smiling a couple of times here at the end of the table.
I'm so nervous, I don't see nothing.
No, you were perfect in your presentation, and I'm thankful that we have a good spirit and soul in you who have taken over this facility, and wherever I could be of support, Mr. Chairman, I know it's 65,000 square feet space. Certainly, I want to be of support wherever I can be.
Absolutely.
And this is a great project, and your ward. And I'm thankful to be sitting here at the table and be a mark on improvement.
Thank you, Councilman Joe Jones. We really appreciate it. As I said, that she is absolutely, and it isn't just a front for this meeting, but she is very big on trying to find ways to support the community in and around where she's located. When she reached out and said, can we pick a school in the ward? I want to decorate a reading nook for one of the schools. And so we have another school lined up we're going to go to as well. She's going to do the same thing for that school. And so she is all about supporting the community. As she says, she gets some of her products that come in. She wants to give them out. She takes them and decorates places for folks to just enjoy themselves. And so you can't ask for a better person than that. And she is 100% in what you saw today. From my time of knowing her from the beginning until now. And so we just thank you for your support and your commitment to the neighborhood. All right. See no further questions.
I annoy him a lot too.
Yes.
Just a brief comment. It's just through the chair wanting to thank you for your investment in our neighborhoods and in Councilman Hairston's ward. This is a huge project. This is a big deal and certainly worthy of investment. And while we were listening to the presentation, I did check out the Yaya and Company website. Didn't know about the company. It's a lot of fun. So people should check it out. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. Seeing no further questions, ordinance number 1013-2024 stands approved. Since we've already discussed the assistance as well, I'm going to just read the ordinance into the record. Ordinance number 1016-2024 by council members Harrison and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing Director of Economic Development to enter into contract with 1030 East 62nd Street LLC or its designee to provide economic development assistance to partially finance the project costs for the development for the 1030 East 62nd Street project and other associated costs necessary to redevelop the property. Again, we've discussed this as part of the presentation. Seeing no further questions, ordinance number 1016-2024 stands approved. Thank you all. All right, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brasil. Sí. Precisamos hablar porque yo tengo trabajo, yo tengo muchas cosas para los latinos y el trabajo también es bueno.